Hi everyone, today's video is me painting Ayame's face up. Ayame is my newest assembled doll from my quarter scale BJDs, and she's from the same story as Immortality and Lalil. So her head is a Youth Story Bluebird and she is in the white resin tone. The resin is pretty much a perfect match for the Zaga doll white resin, so that worked out pretty nicely. So Ayame is a pretty pale girl, so I'm going to go for that style in this face up. I start off with a few layers of my sealant, which is Tamiya TS80 flat clear, and I start off with the pastels. Now you might not see it that well on the camera, but my first color pastels is a super pale peachy color. I'm being careful not to add too much and make her look flushed or make her skin tone look like normal skin tone. As I said, I want her to be a really pale, or so-called a pale beauty. So I add my initial blushing around the eyes, the nose, the lips, the cheeks, the ears, a bit on the forehead, and so on, more or less the places where you would have a bit of a natural shadow on your own skin. Now I don't know anything about makeup, so forgive me if I'm talking nonsense, but yeah, I just go with the flow in what I feel is right. So after my pale peachy color, I'm going to move on to a slightly darker peachy color, mainly to get a bit more color variation and bring a bit more life into the face. So I mainly add it inside the eyelids, well, the lower eyelid, the cheeks, the ears, inside the nose, a bit on the forehead and on the lips. I use a kneaded eraser to shape or completely remove some of the pastel, like around the lips where I want a more defined shape, and some other places. Then I use a wide bristled brush, I don't know what it's called exactly, to wipe away all the excess pastel dust. The weather right here is a bit dry, so the air is filled with static, so pretty much the pastels go everywhere, and that's not very nice when you try to get a neat, clean face up. For the places where my brush doesn't want to smooth out as well, I use a bit of toilet paper. It could be tissue paper or even better yet a bit of cloth to smooth out the transition, especially around the forehead and cheeks. So when I'm done, I add a few layers of sealant and wait till that dries and start with my next layer. In my next layer, I'm mainly going to be working on the lips, eyeshadow and eyebrows. Now I do want her to be a bit more natural, but I also wanted to have her having a bit of a darker face up. So I'm going to give her a darker lip color and give her some eyeshadow. Now her hair and eyes are green, so I thought that a purplish red or a reddish purple might work for the lips. So I mix up some blue and red pastel, as I don't have purple, and add that to the lips. And then for my eyeshadow, I pretty much do the same, but mainly I first started with thinking it would be better for a bluish purple or a purplish blue, but more on the blue side. but then I thought it was a bit too bright, so I muted it down with some dark grey pastel. I probably should have sealed again, but I didn't. So anyway, after I was happy with my lips and eyeshadow, I started with a brown and started shaping her eyebrows. So I want to give her a sweet and kind look, so I'm referencing that type of eyebrow shape off screen, including her doll's original Faceup and other Faceups that have similar color palette. I go slowly with the eyebrows and using my brush and kneaded eraser to get the shape I want, and all the while wiping off the pastel dust and trying to keep everything clean. After sealing again, I pretty much just darken the lips and eyeshadow, and then I add some green pastel over the eyebrows to make it a bit more green, so that it looks a bit more natural with her hair color. I see a lot of people just do plain brown eyebrows and use any color wig with that, but since my characters won't really be switching around their wigs a lot, or hair colors at least, I'm going to keep my brows more or less in line with the wig color. I also added an in-between layer after sealing and before the next piece of footage, where I still darkened the lips and eyeshadow. So, after my layer of sealant, I add some white pastels over the blushing to mute the colors a bit, since the sealant darkened it a bit. So after that, I add some watercolor pencils, a bit of white and red to the lips to make some lip lines, and then a bit of black to define the eyeliner on the lower eyelid a bit, and the eyelid crease a bit. Just a bit. So the first thing I'm painting is the eyeliner. Now I usually use a brown for my eyeliner instead of black. So that might be something you want to note. Anyway, I use a thin brush and slowly paint in the eyeliner on the top of on her top eyelid. Wow. After the eyeliner, I mix up a greenish, slightly muted green color, with which I'm going to paint in her eyebrow hairs and eyelashes. So, just a note, it's pretty, how to say, convenient to get thin lines more easily if you have a physical reference next to you. Like off screen, I have my other quarter scale doll, Immortality, and I'm pretty much looking at her while doing the lashes on Ayame to halfway pretty much use her as a reference for the thinness. Somehow it works, even though in your brain or in your mind's eye you can see how the thinness should be, which is odd. Anyway, I carefully do the eyelashes and the eyebrow hairs. Now for the eyelashes, you can see that I did it all across the lower eyelid, and then later I used a bit of water on the inner corner of the eyelashes and wiped a bit off. Because of the permanence of my paint, it's not completely wiped off, but it is definitely lightened, which gives a more natural look. If you want a more makeup-y look, you can leave it darker. After that, I mix up a dark red, or not that dark. I actually mixed a bit of white into my red, and then I did the lip line. So the doll's sculpt is relatively neutral, but I decided to give her a bit more of a smile. So I did that by the line between the lips, or the lip line, whatever you want to call it, angling it up at the edges a tiny bit. And this, along with her eyebrows, solidifies her expression. So at this point, I'm pretty much happy with my face up. I wasn't sure whether I was done or not, so I left it for a day or so before I continued. And I pretty much just add some fine details, mainly with my watercolor pencils, defining the eyelid crease with my black and white watercolor pencils, defining the lower lash line with black at the corners, outer corners anyway, and white at the inner corners. Then white and red on the lips, and then I'm adding some highlights with white between my lashes and brow hairs. And finishing off this layer, I'm pretty much just dusting a bit of a dark green pastel on the inner edges of my eyebrows, just below the brow, to make a bit of a shadow and bring her brows a bit closer to her eyes. So my basic face up is done, and I seal her with a few layers of my sealant, and now I'm going to add some bling. I've got a pretty iridescent shimmer powder, and I'm going to add lots of it all over her face. Not so much that the color of the powder itself shows, but enough that her whole face is shiny. And even if you think it looks super awkward now, I can guarantee you that at least 70% of the iridescent shimmer is going to be mattified by my sealant. So yeah, I add that all over the face and I seal again. So you can see here that there's not that much of the shimmer left, but enough to make her look pretty in real life. In this stage, I'm pretty much just adding gloss all over the lips, well, neatly over the lips, and pretty much the top and lower eyelid and waterline. I just add one layer of gloss because my gloss tends to be super shiny. Now the final step of my face up is adding eyelashes. These eyelashes I got her from Alice Collections, and they have a slight green tint to them, even though they're pretty much black. So they're pretty much perfect for Ayame with her green hair. Anyway, I cut the one eyelash into two, and then cut a tiny bit off because it's too long for the eye. And then I add a layer of glue inside my eyes, wait till it becomes tacky, and then use tweezers and a toothpick to position my eyelashes on my eyes. Now in this case with Ayame, I am pretty much just using the whole eyelash as is, but if I wanted shorter lashes, I would have added the eyelashes deeper into the head, and when the glue dried, pull them off, cut off the excess and glue it back in place. This is pretty much how I add human lashes to my dolls, but hopefully next time we'll be able to see how I do that. But since these eyelashes were originally meant for dolls, they're the perfect size. And before you say I can cut the eyelashes, it doesn't look as nice, because the eyelashes themselves have tapered ends, and cutting them gives it a blunt look. Yeah, I suck at cutting doll hair, so yeah, I won't take that chance. And after the glue is dried, the face is done. So let's look at some pics.